what's up everyone? Welcome to It's As Told by Natalie. Today I'm going to be doing a little chit chat / get ready with me about my flight attendant face-to-face interview process, as well as showing you how I did my makeup for my flight attendant video and face-to-face interview. So if you're interested, please tag along in this chit chat / get ready with me / how to do your makeup for your flight attendant video and face-to-face interviews / that's really it. Anyways, if you haven't subscribed yet, please press the subscribe button down below, as well as the notification bell, so that you're made aware every time I upload a new video. Thank you for the support, and let's get to it. So they flew me out on the first flight out, and my interview time was scheduled for, what time was it scheduled for? Maybe, let's say around 1 p.m. Okay. And I was at the center where I was going to be doing my interview. I got there around 9 in the morning. I left Atlanta at the time. I was living in Atlanta. I left Atlanta at 6 a.m., the first flight out, because that's what they scheduled me for. So I left Atlanta around 6 a.m., the first flight out, and I was like, all right, so my interview's all the way at 1. At the airport, while I was at the airport, oh my God, while I was at the airport waiting to get on the flight in Atlanta, I met a girl literally sitting right next to me. I'll never forget, her name was Michelle. And sitting right next to me hey, are you going to the interview? I was like, oh my gosh, yes. So she tells me, she's like, oh, cool, come with me. So at this time, I didn't my interview was at 1 p.m. So I wasn't really fully prepared. I don't recommend doing this. So I thought when I get to the airport, where my interview was going to be, I was like, oh, when I get to Dallas, I'm just going to put on my makeup and whatever in the airport, because I had my basic makeup on, but I didn't have it all done yet. Okay, because I was like, well, my interview is not until 1 p.m. Big mistake. Big mistake. So when I met Michelle, she was like, hey, come on, let's head over to the center. I was like, well, my interview's not till 1. She says, well, what are you going to do until then? Are you going to stay here until then? She really, I think everything happens for a reason. So we end up going to Dallas, to the training center. And as soon as I get in there, I go to the I was like, hey, where's the restroom? I go in there and do my makeup really quickly, and then I'm ready. I put my heels on because I had flats on. I put my heels on and I was ready. Okay, I threw my stuff over to the side. I was like, is there a place to put this while I'm in the interview? They were like, yeah, put it right over here. I was like, cool. So was it the most professional? Maybe not. I don't recommend not being prepared no matter what time your interview is. My thing was, I was like, nobody's watching me on the plane there. But you don't know how things are going to turn out. So fast forward to, we're at the center. So I told you my interview was at 1. As I'm talking to Michelle, she tells me her interview's at 10. So we are sitting there waiting for the interview process to start, because it's maybe 8:39, and I'm like, man, I have to wait till 1. So we meet 2 other girls, and we're talking, and we're having a great time. And this guy comes down, and he says, You know, we're just talking about why we want to be flight attendants and things like that, like to each other, amongst ourselves. Nobody's around. And so this man comes down and he's like, hey, ladies, I just wanted to stop by and say hello. And I was like, oh, you know, hi. He tells us that he's going to be interviewing us and that he was standing upstairs listening, like he saw us, you know, talking. And he was like, just wanted to come down and introduce myself and say hello. So he was standing upstairs the whole time listening to us. Oh my goodness. I was like, I'm so glad I ain't say nothing crazy. Because how awful would that have been? So I asked him in that time, I said, well, since you're interviewing us, my name is Natalie. I've met these beautiful women here, and my interview's the later time, but they're all at the 10 a.m. interview time. I wanted to know if there's any way I could possibly have the earlier interview time. Best decision of my life. So he says yes. He says yes. He's like, I'm sure we can get you in there. You've already made, you know, these friends here. And the good thing about that is the interview time that I moved to at 10 a.m. only had like 50 people, if that, 25 people interviewing. It wasn't that many people, because I think I was like number 19. And that's crazy. I remember that. But I think I was like number 19. And there were probably only like 25 people. And the later interview time, the one that won, would have had over 70 people, he told me. So imagine how many people I would have been in competition with had I gone to the later interview time. So I'm so grateful that they put me at the earlier, that he put me on the earlier interview time. So now it's time for our interview. More people start filing in. I told you I already have my girls, the ones I've been talking to since like 8:39. So we're like kind of cool at this point. We've already exchanged numbers, everything. So we're just having a good time. And we already met one of the interviewers. We've introduced ourselves. We're like, we are in there. And we were. So we were just like, yes, like we met one of the interviewers. He was listening to us because we were already asking each other questions. Like, oh, what type of interview questions do you think they'll ask? And we're talking about that. So I know he had to have heard us talking about a little bit of that. We get in there and there's like I said earlier, about 25 of us. They tell us to sit in like groups of 8, okay, at big round tables. And first we have like a little sheet there, and they ask a few questions on the little sheet. I don't know what those questions were. I'm just gonna say it was like 2 to 3 questions, and they were fairly simple. So you just had to write them down. A little written test, no big deal. It was like no big deal, okay? Really simple. So they say, okay, so now we're gonna sit in your groups. We're gonna do a group activity. So our group activity was to write down like one fact about yourself. And then we had to distinguish who in the group, like, so our group, we wrote down one fact about ourselves, okay, on like a big piece of paper, and there was like the team leader and things like that. I was not the group leader. I made a mental decision. I made the decision to not want to be the group leader because I didn't want to come off too aggressive, because I know myself and that would happen. So I found myself, so there's like so many people watching you. So I was just, smiling a lot and just like, yeah, I think that's a great idea. Yeah, we should definitely do that. I don't want y'all to think I was being fake, because I was not being fake. I genuinely had a good time and was interested in a lot of these people. So we wrote down our facts, and basically we had to discuss, like, in our group had to like, we sat back and another group went up and was like, oh, okay, here are our facts. Like, now we have to say whose fact is who. So as a team, you're kind of like, no, I think this is this person and this is that person. It was real. It was fun. It was a fun little icebreaker. Okay. So that was the group activity. Now we're going to a group interview. So in our group interview, we each were asked one question. I had 2 questions. Okay. Each of us had like the same question, which was, why do you want to be a flight attendant? All of us had to answer that question. I sat on the very end, so I was the last person to answer that question. That means I had to come up with an answer that didn't sound like everybody else's answer, right? That was annoying. However, if there's one question you better know how to answer, it's that question. Why do you want to be a flight attendant? And if you've done any research up until now, you know not to answer it by saying, because I want to travel. They're going to be like, goodbye. You are the weakest link. Goodbye. You don't want to say because you want to travel at all in your answer. Don't even throw it in. And of course I want to try. Don't throw it in at the end. Don't put it in there at all. They don't care that you want to travel. They called us out one by one for your individual interview. That was the scariest moment. So I had read on like Glassdoor at that time that if you get called for an individual interview, then you didn't get it and blah, blah, blah. Or if you didn't get called first in the first half, then you didn't get it. That type of stuff, I'm going to say take with a grain of salt. I didn't get called first. I got called towards the latter of like all of the names on the list. But again, I was like the last person to be put in that interview class, right? So I don't think that means anything. And I got my CJO that day. There were others that didn't get their CJO in the same day. So like I said, take Glassdoor with a grain of salt. It is a great way to like learn a lot of things, but just be wary. Okay, interview. This is the best part. When I get into my video interview, this lady was staring me down. Okay, y'all? She was staring me down. She was not playing any games. She didn't come to play. She was just like, she asked me the same question again. Why do I want to be a flight attendant? I answered again. She asked me if I had any tattoos. She asked me if I was willing to relocate. Tattoos. She asked me if I had piercings. And that's why I was like, yeah, I have my belly button pierced. Was that any of her business? No, I don't know. I don't even know why she asked me if I had any piercings. Why does it matter? I think maybe she was nervous too. Like, what? Can you see any extra piercings? Like, come on, lady. She asked me maybe 2 other questions. Like, tell me about a time you had a problem with a past, like, customer or an employee. She asked me those type of like typical type of interview questions. And I was like, man, on Glassdoor, they said if they ask you these questions, you're screwed. I was nervous. And there was like a little box of tissues right there. And I thought she was going to tell me like, okay, bye. Like, you didn't get it. And I'm like, oh my God, is that why the tissues are there? When she told me I got the job, I cried, y'all. I cried. I didn't put any eyeshadow on for my face-to-face or video interview, so I'm not going to put any on today. I did have a little bit of blush on, mascara, and I am going to add a little bit of highlighter with my Becca highlighter. And I'm just gonna add my mascara on. yeah, so basically this is how I did my makeup. I'm going to apply on my CoverGirl red lip. So this is kind of like my soft glam look on how I did my makeup for my face-to-face and video interview. And that was like the little story about my face-to-face and video interview. And yes, this is me. And I wore a suit, so I would definitely wear like a top like this with a blazer to the interview, and simple necklace, simple earrings. And because my hair is, like I said in my last video, above my shoulders, my hair is okay to be down like this. So if you haven't watched my last video, definitely check that out about how to ace your flight attendant video interview. But yes, that was my flight attendant face-to-face interview with the company that I work for now. I did receive my CJO, and I'm in the game 2 years later. So it's not really 2 years. It's not 2 years until May, but we gonna say 2 years.